It's election season in Bangladesh. Usually that means ruling party versus opposition. But not in Dhaka, because right now it looks like ruling party versus the United States of America. How exactly did that happen? We'll explain that. But first, some background. Bangladesh's poll dates were announced on Wednesday. Voting is on the 7th of January. 300 seats will be up for grabs. Now, this announcement was made in a live televised address. It's unusual for Bangladesh. Poll officials have never announced election dates on TV. So why now? Because of the circumstances. Bangladesh's opposition wants Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to step down. They say she will rig the voting. Their solution is to appoint a caretaker government, someone neutral to oversee the polls. If not, they will boycott the elections. So far, Sheikh Hasina has ruled out resigning. She has called the opposition terrorists. So as things stand, the opposition will not contest the election in Bangladesh, meaning a walkover for the ruling party. Hence all the controversy. Yesterday, opposition workers marched towards the election office. Security was tightened across major cities. Some violence was also reported. Which brings us to the United States. Washington is playing election commissioner in Dhaka. No one asked them to, but when has that stopped the US? The US ambassador has already met the chief election commissioner. He now wants to meet leaders from 3 political parties, the Awami League, which is the ruling party, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party or BNP, and the Jamaat-e-Islami, which is an extremist group. So basically, the US wants to broker peace. It wants the opposition to contest the elections. And just to be clear, this is an internal issue for Bangladesh. It's between their government and their opposition. And the US has no business here. So naturally, Dhaka is not happy. Their foreign minister was asked about America's mediation bid. Let me tell you what he said. And I'm quoting from that statement. We don't pay heed to them unless it is practical and reasonable. Which embassy says what is relevant? Nobody will be allowed to create barriers to holding the national election. I assume the nobody includes the US. Now, this standoff raises 2 questions. Number one, can the US force a political dialogue on Dhaka? In theory, they have leverage. We talked about Bangladesh's garment industry last week. It makes up 85% of the total exports. Also, 16% of their GDP, the garment industry. And where do these garments go? Most of them go to the United States. In fact, the US is the largest importer of Bangladeshi goods. It's worth around $11 billion. So Washington does have leverage. But will they use it? Well, that may depend on question number 2. How does India see all of this? New Delhi has great relations with Washington. At the same time, it prefers working with Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. So could India play mediator? Well, the Foreign Ministry was asked about this today. Apparently, this issue was discussed in the 2+2 meeting with America, the meeting between India and America. This issue came up. But India's Foreign Ministry said there is no difference of opinion. Listen to this.
I think we have been repeatedly highlighting our position on Bangladesh elections as well as this is something that the Bangladesh people and have to decide for themselves. Yes, it did come up in discussions, but so did many other topics with the US, as you mentioned, Foreign Secretary mentioned, that is, I wouldn't be in a position to comment whether there is a difference of opinion. Our opinion, you know very well. We are a neighbor. We have very, lot at stake, what happens in our neighborhood. I'm sure other countries will have their own relationships with Bangladesh. And I certainly don't know if that's the right word to use, a difference of opinion. I haven't, we had a conversation, and on the 2+2, I think Foreign Secretary has explained.
Again, that's a hard sell. There is quite clearly a difference of opinion, and India did try to bridge the gap during the G20 Leaders' Summit in September. But the good news is this, that they're all talking about it. It's a test for the US-India relationship. India must convince the US to let Bangladesh handle its matters, and the US will have to trust India's judgment. As for Dhaka, some concessions may be necessary. The opposition claims more than 11,000 workers have been arrested. If that's true, those numbers are hard to ignore. So this election season will be one to watch out for.